Okay, so hi everybody. Today's April 11. It's Tuesday. Right now we're going to review the end of our semester schedule. And right now we're looking at the book cover. As of today, everybody should have completed uh, basically the second week of the book cover design. And Garrett just asked a great question. Do you actually need to bring in the physical book and wrap your cover around the exact same book? The answer is you do not need to have the physical book. You can wrap your cover around any book that measures the size you've created the cover for. Okay. However, you do, as part of the assignment, need to have read the book so you have a feel for the book. And also look at the original book cover, like Amy last week, I think, brought up Catcher in the Rye, right? And Catcher in the Rye probably had 1,000,000 covers because it's been around so long. You can reference any cover design of a book that might have more than one, as to critique it, what you might not like about it, and what you hope to improve on it. I think one of the things, I know I'm rambling a little bit, but one of the things that's really important is to get a flavor for the book, the story, which should help guide you, for example, on the color palette, or if it's a funny book, then your cover is going to be humorous. If it's if it's a book that creates lots of tension, then your cover should create tension. If it's a serene, beautiful book with a slow story, but just very gentle, then that's the flavor your book cover should have. It should really reflect the personality of the book. Yeah, Amaris. If it's a book that's a series, what's your example? Say that again. Harry Potter. Oh, when you look at when you have referring to the Harry Potter logo of the Harry Potter typeface. You do not whatsoever have to do the logo at all. It's totally, you get to redesign it however you wish. Good question. Good question to ask. I understand. Well, and what that means is Harry Potter books created a brand, right? There's a series of them. There's a brand. You know the look. You're creating a new brand for it. So you're on your own with it. Good question. Yeah.
How do you want us to include the UP scan code?
How do you include it? Well, that's a really good question too. So the UP scan code, let me see if let's just Google one.
There's like a generator.
Yeah, I don't want to make you, I see you, John. I don't want to make you worry. Oh, there is a generator online.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I linked it in the last week.
You're so on top of it. You're so great. John's so on top of it. So he linked it. If you go to this is TAP for our class. This is TAP GDP 113 where our videos are found. John has a link below last week where you can generate your own UPC code, which is a beautiful, excellent exercise in truly generating professional work. And I will tell you right now, so you all know, UPC codes have a clean white background. And that's for a reason. That's so they are scannable as black and white. So, for example, if you have a red book cover and you put those black bars on red, all the scanner is going to see is black, because red scans as black, okay? So make sure you've sectioned off an area that has, that's appropriate. And usually they're in the bottom right corner of the book cover. Don't give it a lot of real estate. It's functional. It's not artwork, okay, you guys? Doesn't mean that you can make it ugly, but, be sure. Yes.
Are there requirements on the barcode too? Because I noticed, like, with the ISBN one that's right there, the ISBN is the same number on top, and it's the same number underneath. So one that I generated doesn't have the ISBN on top because it's the same numbers underneath. Is that okay?
Absolutely good question. And yes, it's okay. You don't need the ISBN number in two places. Yeah, good question. Usually the ISBN numbers inside the front of the book also and so forth. Yeah, you don't need to repeat it. Usually, though, if you take a look at books on book covers in the upper left corner, see if anything comes up to this. Usually with book covers in the upper left corner, let's see if it shows up here. You will often find in the upper left corner of a book, they'll put the genre of the book or the category you might find it, you know, whether it's a gardening book or a law book or a social sciences book, they might put the category of it. And I don't, you know, unfortunately, I'm not showing you what I want you to see. But it's often put right here in the upper left corner of the back cover if you'd like to. All right. You know, the more professional you make this, the more beneficial it is. So, you know, I pulled this up, you know, I pulled this up randomly, obviously. And what do we actually, now that we're looking at it, what do we think of the cover? Jachi's like shrugging her shoulders, like, whatever, it's fine, right? It doesn't do anything great. We're not going to have that cute little cuddly, you know, tiger photo on our book cover. So it's a pretty boring layout. It's completely centered and completely boring, which is why we got a shrug out of it. And here's a book cover. I know you can't read a word because I can't really either. Let me put it a little higher on the screen for you. But one of the things I want to show you is that they did that was thoughtful regarding type. Let me help you with this. Is here, first off, they did a justified paragraph all the way across the back. They don't have a logo. We don't see the title of the book. We don't have anything that draws us in. It's just reading a bunch of people's quotes. I don't find that particularly interesting. There's nothing that's going to captivate me here. One of the things they did do is they put the title here, The Graveyard Book, and it's handled in all uppercase letters with all of the quotes here. They justify their text, so when you get to this fourth paragraph here, notice how gappy it looks here between the attribution of who said the quote and the quote above, right? Can you see it's gappy because you don't have a complete line length above it? So maybe a solution to that would be take all 5 of these paragraphs, narrow them, narrow them, narrow them, narrow them, narrow them, until you find that the line length, because look at these, they all have a lot of space here. Narrow them until maybe they use, what do I say, they almost all fill up the column width. Does that make sense to everybody? You're the designer. You guys get to do whatever you want. And then, of course, and it's really, it's again, a boring centered design, but they created a field of white here on the outside back cover. Let's see if there's anything interesting here. I think outside back covers should be about as interesting as you could be. It's a beautiful use for great real estate. Reading black type on a shocking pink cover is nearly impossible, truly, even if you were actually looking at the book. You know, there's no hierarchy here. Everything looks like a big block of text. It's certainly not very inspired. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on this design. I want you to have free reign here. Here's a cover where at least their type is interesting for their headline, right? But their paragraph of text isn't very interesting. Anybody see anything good? Here. Yeah. There's your outside back cover with all type, except for a little bit of bells and whistles with gradient glows going on. But that's all type. And this is nearly impossible to read, centered type in this paragraph. Don't do that. Make it flush left. You don't really want to read big blocks of type. This ragged edge doesn't serve anything here. You guys see anything else? Oh, did you guys read that book? It's a perfect book for all of you. No? Do you guys know the story? Oh, it's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful, very fast read. It's a guy who just wanted to go live in the wilderness. No, Back to the Wild. I'm pretty sure it's Back to the Wild. Into the Wild?
Yeah.
What happens to him?
He dies.
Okay, then that's the book I'm thinking of. So then I don't know what Back to the Wild is. Because that's what he wrote in his book. Do you remember that?
Yeah, well, and Christopher McCandless is the author.
Oh, so somebody just designed this with a wrong title. There you guys, don't do that. Oh, so it is Into the Wild. Isn't it the perfect book for all of you? Yeah, exactly. Here he is. He's walking on water here, I think. So, all right, so it's Into the Wild then. Yeah, wasn't it a great book?
Nice. He's so dumb.
He's so dumb. Did you read it? Did you read it?
Yeah.
You didn't like it?
No, I
Totally agree, Judge.
Yeah, you thought he was so dumb. Right.
Yeah. He was a very
so selfish.
wealthy, over entitled.
Yes.
Spoiled.
There you go.
Yeah.
This would be unreadable, by the way. What were you going to say? I cut you off.
It's a cute concept for a story, but I like how realistic it is.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a leap and dies.
So what was the book where Strader, what's her name? Strader, right? Who wrote it? The book was called what?
Strayed?
Yeah, Strayed. Wild. Wild. It's another good book. That was a good book. No? I read that. What do you think of this book cover, you guys? Very red, Garrett. I agree with you. And I would just stop breathing trying to read this black type on a red background. So
I don't think the center alignment works on the cover since it never is a completely different size. It's like,
right.
see where they're trying to go with that.
Right. I'm always amazed at how poor book cover designs are, actually. Honestly. I like the texture on this cover. And if you made it lighter, it wouldn't look good because it would be pink looking. So it's a tough thing. Do you guys all know how to do, Scott's not here, do you guys all know how to do gradients over images? Did I show you that before, everybody?
Over images.
Yeah, so not a mask. I'll show you right now because I showed Scott the other day.
It has like no fill.
Yeah, so you had to Google it. I showed you guys. No?
Maybe I wasn't there that week.
Here, let's look at what I did for Scott. Okay, so this is, sorry you're not here, Scott. So Scott had created a mock-up of his book, and I was trying to show him ways to consider using a grid. And, oh, here it is. This is it. So he had this beautiful image, which he made really small on his page. And it was all these little snippets of type and little images, and it was a bunch of little things all scattered on a page. And I said, well, why don't you take this beautiful image, because you're so all about skateboarding. I mean, the whole thing he cares about, I'm sure, as would all of you who are reading this, his book, would be, yeah, I want to see the cool skateboard pictures, right? Who cares about the other stuff? And so I said, why don't you take the cool skateboard picture, fill up your screen with it. Sorry, I'm trying to get this so we can see the whole thing. I said, fill up your 2-page spread with it. And then I said, oh gosh, you can't read the black type on that texture background, right? Right, okay. So sometimes there's a nice solution, and most of you who might be new to InDesign might say, well, that's not hard. I'll put a white box there and now I can read the type. But that's hideous, okay? Not that I have an opinion, but it's hideous, okay? It's hideous because the type touches the edges of the text box. It's hideous because it just is stuck there. If your theme was like putting stickers and labels on things, then maybe that might make sense. Then you might add a drop shadow and you might turn it into something. Like you might take this text box here, go to Object Text Frame Options, inset your type like we've talked about in the past, like that, right? And then you could take this text box and maybe you rotate it at an angle, and then maybe you add a drop shadow to it here at 15%, not 75. And now you look at it and it's like, oh, okay. And you put a bunch of those scattered and now you've got a theme going, right? You could see that. All right, but let me hit undo for a second. But I don't think you really want to distract from this incredibly super cool photo. And the quote of life's about sharing with others, skating isn't much different, right? Very meaningful. Scott wrote it himself. It was an important quote. So there's a technique where you can, let me go back one more. You can add a window, a graphic box, and fill it with what's called a feather gradient. This is a feather gradient that's white. And how you do it, I'll do it on the opposite page here, is I'm going to bring first off, I'm going to draw a window here, a graphic box, right? It's filled with nothing, nothing's happening to it. And I'm going to marquee the back photograph and the box I just created and go to Object Arrange and send it to the back, all right? And so my type is in front. You get that? All right. Now what I can do is this. Let's say I want a darker gradient behind life is about sharing. So I could uncheck this. I can click on this box, which has no fill. I can go to my swatches. I'll go to color here. I'll select black. The box is black, and I can go to what's a feather gradient. And I never remember, it's a feather gradient tool right here in the toolbox there. I never remember which direction, so forgive me. And I'm just going to hold my shift key so I have a straight line, not a wonky angled line. And I can feather my gradient partially, so it's just dark up here. You get that? Or I can feather it down further so it takes feathers halfway down to the page. And what's left is the rest of the box becomes transparent. So it's a smooth, soft gradient. And the advantage of it is it's transparent, so you can see the image beneath it. It adds a little bit of darkness, but it doesn't disrupt the image very much.
Another technique you can use is to put a contrasting outer glow on your text. That can work.
It can work for about 0.00005% of the population.
Well, there are situations where that's your own choice.
It's an aesthetic thing. It wouldn't be my first choice. Might be John's first choice.
Oh, not necessarily.
But it might make sense if your book is Star Trek, and you want to create a glow. You want to create that ethereal feeling. Here, John's talking about.
You might not be able to put the.
Well, I don't know. You know what, John?
It might not be legible because of the background.
Well, let's do this, John.
It's just
Let's be fair. Yes, it is. Here we go. Same type. Okay. What John is suggesting, here is the type. You go to the effects panel. You go to outer glow. It's going to only pick up the type, not the box. Okay. I think. But I really never use this. Right now it's going to outer glow with white. So let me turn on preview. That sound really makes me crazy. And you can see outer glow coming. Can you guys see outer glow showing up? Not very much, right? Let's go outer glow with black. So if we click on this, we pick black, and we say OK. Now we're going to get an outer glow black look. I'll make it softer. Let's spread it. Here we go. That's our problem. Oh, there's outer glow. And screen makes everything white. So let's make it multiply instead of screen. Screen makes everything white. There's your black. That's not bad, John. You're right. You're John. Listen, it's on recording. John's right, everybody. I don't like outer glow at all. I think usually people tend to use it when the spread is really tiny and the color is really too dark. And it just glows around the letters and it kind of just bothers me. We'll leave it like this though.
You can use it very subtly where you have a bunch of text and you really have no other options. It's not legible because of the background in certain areas.
Actually,
I think that works right there.
My niece last night had a bottle and all of their ingredients on the bottle had black outer glow on it. And I looked at it and I thought, who would ever think that's a good idea? Well, we know who now.
You can misuse anything.
So anyway, John's right. Here's another option for you. And the reason I hesitate to use it is it doesn't usually look so subtle when it gets printed. But it actually doesn't look bad here. Let's try it. Let's try outer glow with this black type with white and see what we get. Is this fun for you guys? It's a little interesting, right? Okay, and then we'll give you guys time. So here's effects, here's preview, here's white. Can you see it? You can't see it very well. You guys can't see that little white stuff, can you? You can? All right, a little bit. Let's spread it. There. That's how I see people usually using outer glow. And it's just not my favorite thing. Okay,
you want to use just enough of it to make the text legible.
Yeah,
and it's not legible.
It's just not my favorite thing. But I'll leave it to you guys. Is there any technique anybody want me to share? Yeah.
I know it's based out of Illustrator, and I know the decent use of what's it called, image trace.
Yeah.
Kind of how to like fine tune it.
Oh.
Because I scanned a bunch of drawings that I would like to use.
Okay. Image trace. Everybody's going to want to learn about this. Yeah, John.
There's an online service called Image Magic.
Yeah.
That you have to pay for, but it's incredible.
Really?
It has some kind of artificial intelligence associated with it.
So
Really?
Image Magic. Wait a minute, that's not it.
Yes.
I think Image Magic is PHP.
So what?
I'll think of it in the link.
Have we done image trace in this class? Okay, very quickly. Okay, you guys, you're going to. I have an opinion. Oh, we did for this thing. I think the light bulb. We did for the light bulb. All right. So image trace is this. In Illustrator, you open a photograph, a raster image, not vector, and let's take one of Scott's photos. He did a screen capture of one of his photos. So here's his photo. And in Illustrator, the reason you would want, here's why you would want image trace to be used. You'd want image trace to be used if you have a low resolution image that you want to break. How many of you in this class ever did paint by numbers? Raise your hands high. Really, that's it? Okay, paint by numbers is you get a kit, they have outlines, and you fill in the shape that they've given you with a color, right? And I want you to see the effect of it. So paint by numbers looks like this, okay? And when you're done, so you find number 4, you find the little jar for number 4 paint, and you paint in it. And paint by numbers looks like this. It's a field of color that has a flat color filling it up, okay? You lose the subtleties of it. Image trace has a similar effect, which is why I'm showing it to you. So I can take this image, I can select it, and there's something in right up here called image trace. And if I select the default goes to black and white. And what it does is it finds the darkest darks, the lightest lights, and it's like using the slider bar in Photoshop to bitmap something, all right? You can change your result by going here to this tracing panel. And I can change this look, and I have preview on. And I can change it from going to black and white to a different tracing result. Let's see. I use this very randomly. To a different tracing result. So we'll go to color, and it'll probably change my options. And then it's going to ask me how many colors do I want to do, and how smooth do I want my curves to be. And then I can use these slider bars to adjust this. And what happens is, I don't know if I can zoom in yet. You see how it breaks things into these flat little paint by number mosaic-y looks? That's what it basically does. So you lose the subtleties, and you can change the complexity of the path. Yeah, you can't see it yet. But you can change the complexity of the path by using these different slider bars. They used to say image trace, I'll go back to it, preset custom. Oh, here I can go make it my photograph 6 colors. So here's image trace using only 6 colors. So it will break it into a field of 6 colors. It's also like being in Photoshop and using the filter called Posterize, if you guys have ever done that. And here's making it only 3 colors. And the reason I would ever use image trace in all truthfulness is if I want this look, this paint by number look, which has a time and place for sure. The other reason is if there's something I want to draw and I want a shortcut to it, like I don't want to have to sit around and draw a cat. Let me just finish this thing. And I'll show you the simple way. So let's say right now, let me go back to not 3 colors, but to 16 colors. Now we're going to get a lot more colors in here, and it's going to look mosaic-y. Okay, and then what you do is you expand it. And do you see all those blue things? All those blue things are vector points. So if I view this as in outline mode, that's what it turned that drawing into. And why I don't like image trace is because it's just chaos, right? It's chaotic. Yeah.
That service I mentioned is called Vector Magic.
Vector Magic. Okay, thank you,
And you
John.
might use it for a logo.
Right.
And you wouldn't have as much cleanup.
Right. You wouldn't have much. So right now we've lost our skateboard guy. We have all these different shapes. We have 16 colors. And then it's all grouped together when you click on it. So now you would go to Object on Group. And now I can select just the black of this guy's pants, right? And I can go and say, select everything that's the same stroke and fill color. And the advantage for that is like, phew, I really only wanted the silhouettes of the skateboarders, right? Mm-hmm. And now I don't have the whole thing. But if I cut them out, you'll see it didn't grab everything. So it becomes a hassle. Or I can click and drag and try and get rid of my background. And I can click and drag. Let's say I just want this one guy, right? So I wonder why you would choose image trace instead of a photograph if you have a high enough resolution photograph. And the answer is you might not have a high enough resolution photograph, or you might decide that you just want, I'm selecting with my white arrow, the direct selection tool, everything to get rid of, right? You can see what I'm doing here. And I might just have the silhouette of the skater. And what I started to say is, let's say I want a picture of a cat and I don't want to draw it. And I'll look for an image, and this is theft, you guys, by the way, just so I'm clear. Like this. Let's take this guy. So here's a cat. I'm going to save the image. Cat. There we go. Save it. And now I open it in Illustrator. File open, Command O. Go to my desktop. Here's my cat. Open the image. I select it. And if I image trace it, probably everything that's white is going to be white, and everything that's not white will be black. So let's leave it as, never tried black and white logo, but let's see. So let's see if I use my slider bars. Less corners, change my threshold. Make my threshold bigger is either going to make it blacker or whiter. There we go. This is what I would like to do. So I played with my slider bars because I don't know where to go with this because I don't do very much. And so I'm done. And now I expand it. I take my white arrow, I marquee that, and man, why? And now I have a silhouette of a cat. And that was really fast. I didn't have to draw it. And that's where I think image trace really is a winner. When you have something like this that you might wish to start with or embellish or make an icon out of or use as a logo, because now I can say, John says it's good for logos, right? And so now I can say,
Are you recording?
I hope to God I am. I was. Yeah, I am. I am. There we go. Yeah.
I'm talking more about just like turning these fine line drawings, like because for my last project, I was able to scan it and use Livetrace, but like it was like all blurby. You know what I mean? I wanted it to look more like my actual drawing.
I do.
I didn't know how to like control the different things. So
Oh, it's a tough one. Okay, so you have a rough sketch or you have your journal sketches and you want to make them art in your book.
Yeah, essentially.
Okay. So there's two things I would do to that, in all honesty. So I'm just repeating for the video. So if you have a sketch, and you have a line drawing you did, black and white only? Like
the hippo.
Okay, like the hippo. Okay. Well then let's save our little hippo. So probably what I do is I'd save the hippo. I'd open the hippo first in Photoshop. Let's see if Photoshop shows up here. No. This won't take very long, you guys. And if it's a line drawing, the problem with line drawings is they're not always solid lines. So the hippo, I would look at it and I would look at the quality of it. And if it's a raster quality like that, is that what you're finding?
I mean, I'm scanning it myself, so I mean. Like,
so you can get really high resolution. So first off, what I'd probably do is I go to image and I go to image size. We've done this before. And I would make sure that this thing is like insanely high resolution. So I'm resampling it to make it, to change it from 1/3 of a megabyte to 11 megabytes. Okay, so big image. And then I go back to my image and I come in here and I say, oh, that's kind of a funky line, right? So I would go grab my paintbrush, figure out if I want a hard edge to my paintbrush. Look, here's a hard edge paintbrush for you who don't know Photoshop. Here's a soft edge paintbrush. See how one's fuzzy, one's not? That's a difference. And I probably take my hard edge paintbrush and decide what size it is. And I probably make sure if I wanted my strokes to be even, I probably embellish them. All right. And then what I do, I'd be done. The other thing I do is I get rid of stuff called artifacts. See all that funky, junky stuff from a low resolution image? I would probably use my magic wand tool in Photoshop, and I use my tolerance and make it pretty big so I'd only get blacks and whites. So the tolerance means everything that's within where I click, everything that's within a 32 pixel color range. So hopefully I'm selecting everything in the center of that little lovely hippo, right? And delete it. And I can fill it with white to make sure it's white. And now it's going to be super clean. And I'm kind of assuring myself that I'm cleaning this up to as stark black and white as possible. Now, once you've gotten this far, you might say what you got is fine. You might not want to image trace it. But now I can save my hippo. Let me just save it. Highest resolution possible. Go to Illustrator. Open up the hippo file. And same thing for image trace. Here I would just decide the controls I would pick would be I'd select the hippo, which is an image, a raster image, even though it looks like a line art. And you want it black and white, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I
So
have the sketch art thing which I used.
let's try that.
Yeah, you want to center line it. Then you can pick a thickness for your line.
Oh, there you go. What did you say, John?
You can center line it.
I don't know what you mean.
I'm not sure if Illustrator does this, but in some raster to vector operations, you can center line something like that. In other words,
So all lines become the same
it
weight?
looks at that leg and it just draws a line down the middle of that black area.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never done that. I'm not familiar with that. One of the
I'll
things.
bet Illustrator can do it.
Okay. One of the things, I know I probably am not helping you, but one of the things I would like to say about sketches is the irregular weight of lines is what makes a sketch and not mechanical. So for here, what you would do with this selected is paths means how many paths do you want? Do you want it to give you higher percentage of vector points along the journey? Okay. Corners means, do you want to have sharper corners or smoother flowy transitions? That's your adjustment here. This one says, if you have two colors side by side, do you want them to be, what is this one called? It creates a cutout path where you'd have a black outline and a white center. And this one is, you have stacked paths. So we have a big black outside hippo, and then we have a big white shape on top of the hippo. So in other words, this big black thing is an entire path on the outside, and then this little white thing is a square. And mostly play with it. That's probably not very helpful to you. But, the advantage for you of having vectorized your illustrations is that the advantage to you of vectorizing illustrations is they're scalable.
That's why I was wanting to vectorize.
And that's why I would invest the time in it. But I would clean them up.
Okay.
I would clean them up before you go to the live trace thing.
Okay.
And then there's another thing on here, right here, ignore white. So ignore white means if it's a white background or it's negative space, basically, if they ignore it, it means it won't make it white. It will make this head of the hippo basically a compound path.
So it's just the black then.
So it's just the black. It's just the black if you selected this version.
Okay.
Outline paths, which let's just try it. Let's ignore white. Let's see if we did it right. And here we are. And let's expand it. Yeah, so look, it did just that. So the black shape is basically like a pen, right? And if I select our hippo right here, there's no white, there's no bounding box, it's just our hippo, which might be what I think you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that's it. So what we did was we ignored white, and we used that method right here, which was called a budding path.
That centerline technique is a method.
Okay. So you know what I would do to learn centerline technique? I could do a class with you, which is I'd go to YouTube, I'd learn how to use it, and then I'd teach you.
Okay.
So you guys can all do that on your own, okay? All right, that's great. Thank you. Anything else anybody wants a hand with? All right. So we digressed, as we always do. But you can see why these things would be fast, right? So where are we now? We're back to our class schedule. Okay. So let's see where we're at. This is today. You can see how few classes we have left. Today, you're going to work on your typography book, your type publication book. And this week, you will work on your book cover too. So come in next week with your book jacket design. And we will critique them. If they are not up to snuff, then you'll have an opportunity to fix it based on the critique, okay? Does that work for all of you? All right. So that being said, you've got to complete all this other information here, which I think we've already gone over for your book jacket, okay? And then you'll see as we look ahead again, the end of our semester looks like this. We'll come in next week, we'll critique your book jacket design. You will have made sure that your typographical publication is off to print by April.
My day was
April 17th. You will all make sure you've got things worked out for yourselves to have it delivered in class on April 2nd in my hand. Physical book. I'm sorry, May 2nd. With photographs in your PDF file. Okay? No, there's like no, the dog ate my homework stuff. Wonder what that translates. Is that a phrase in Japanese? Shoji. Chinese. Sorry, I keep doing that to you. In Chinese, is that a phrase? The dog ate my homework. Do you know what I mean by that? Right. If you can't turn in your homework and you want to blame it on somebody, like that you did it, but you don't have it to give me, when you were little kids in elementary school, you'd say the dog ate my homework. Is that a phrase for anybody in this class? Okay. So I'm not totally off my mark. Okay. It's a phrase. It's a joke, is what it is. I realize I say these things, they must be insane. Okay, so make sure you get your typographical publication off for next week. You'll bring your book jacket in for next week. I will introduce your last and final project, which is designing a typeface. Okay, and then our final meeting of class is that you'll all share your typographical publications that you will have brought to class on May 2nd. Okay? And you share those on the final class meeting. I take them home on May 2nd, grade them, and then return them to you. And I treat them preciously, so nothing happens to them. Okay. Any questions? Yeah?
So I see if their final meeting schedule May 9th.
Yeah.
So you're saying we bring them to you on May 2nd and then we share them with each other.
Yeah, I bring them back on May 9th, and then we share them as for our final meeting. And our final meeting is at 11 a.m. on Tuesday. And everybody needs to make sure that's not a conflict. It's very confusing when you have a one-day hybrid class that doesn't totally fit the final schedule. Okay? Any questions for anybody? No? Okay. Then the rest of class is your lab time, and I'm happy to help you however I can.